That was my first.
We will go ahead and start the meeting, call the meeting to order. We'll start with the prayer and pledge. Andy will lead us in prayer.
Please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this evening, Father God. We thank you for the many blessings you've given us, Lord Jesus. We thank you for the blessings of the school and our community, Lord God, and our administration. Lord God, I just ask you to be with us as any decision that is made here today. It glorifies you, Lord God. We thank you and we adore you. In Jesus Christ's name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
We will start off with the principal report, Mr. Humphries.
Enrollment, we did get the 2 new students in, so we're at 187 with 26 transfers. October has, end of September and October, we started to do a few different things. The juniors and seniors went to the AgriLife college career day at Monday. And got information on different jobs and things. We'll actually be going to the job fair in Lubbock end of this month, I believe, with them again. And then Darla's going to take a few kids to Sweetwater, where it's what I don't remember the name of it now. It used to be TSTC, whatever it's called.
Just make it up.
Whatever the name of it is now. I bet she's going to it. And then pre-K through second went to the pumpkin patch in Florida on Friday. It was really fun. They got to feed the animals and each got their own pumpkin. It was a good day. So it's good to get them out and get them back. If you ever try to take all the elementary to Alsop's to the restaurant. They got done a little early, so we went to the park there in Florida to have lunch, and there's no restrooms there. So we went to the Alsop's and it had one working. So we divided in Concord and went to Lowe's and Alsop's. But that was about a 40 minute ordeal. We did get them all to the restroom. No accidents. It was a good day. On the 30th of September, we did ACT testing here on site. I'm telling you, that's an awesome thing, because if you guys remember, you have to go to wherever and whenever, and you were there at 8 o'clock in the morning and you took it all at once, and now you can take the writing or not take the writing. So we were able to do that here. We tested 66 students, 8th graders, 8th through sophomores took the pre-ACT, and then juniors and seniors took the ACT, with some of them in their fourth time, I believe, to take it. So really nice to give it on site, really nice to give it here. It's changed a lot. It's still pretty time consuming. Took us most of the morning, but it was good. It's really, really good to be able to do it. Really, really good. And that's much better than having to drive somewhere, usually on a Saturday morning after a late Friday night. I think they used to do it on Saturdays for this one, and so that's it was good to do it here. So appreciate Darla doing that. Cross country teams, district champion in junior high boys, JV girls, JV boys, varsity girls, varsity boys. The junior high girls finished runners up. They lost a tiebreaker. So Kevin does a great job with them. It's good to see us compete, and they take it seriously and do a really great job. So excited to see how our advancers will do as we go into regional and on the state. But super job there. Just glad to see our kids compete and the pride they put into it. It's not that way everywhere. It's a long walk and ridiculous, but nonetheless, we do it the right way. I'm proud of that. And like I said, proud of Kevin and all the kids. Great job there. We've been doing drills, safety drills. We did a shelter in place a week before. We did an emergency lockdown this week. Went really, really well. Was doing that. Had Billy Scoggins here to help and keep, and Mr. Coulter. We went through the building, and we got out all the elementary kids as quick as possible, and it took us about 8 minutes, I believe, to finish. It wasn't too bad. And so, I mean, as far as having to do that, but it's good to do those things. We're required to do them. It's good to practice, and so no real glitches, no real issues there. Of course, you prepare for the unexpected, but it's the drill. And so the kids did a good job. I appreciate everybody with that, but it's good to get those done and good that we didn't find, I mean, you find a few things to work on, a few things to, to address, but all in all, it's really, really good. Upcoming events, Booster Club, I guess you guys have got it Wednesday night. Or is that tomorrow night? Tomorrow night. We don't have much till Thursday. Now Thursday's a busy day. I'll be taking the fourth graders to the South Plains Electric Co-op safety presentation there. Went last year. We do the fourth graders there. Pink out pep rally at 3:00. Junior high football at 5:30. Varsity football at 7:00. And we have mini cheer during the first quarter of that. And I think they also participate in the pep rally. And then Saturday's the big day for our band. They'll be marching at Lubbock at Lowry, Plains Capital Park, I believe is the name of it now, at 8:50. And excited to see them as they went to Abilene Wiley a couple weekends ago, 2 weekends ago, to do a preparatory performance. And so excited to see them compete and see how things go. I know that Miss Huff and them put a lot of work in, and excited to see how it goes. So it's kind of what we have going on in our world. Any questions?
Are they still doing the senior night Thursday?
Senior night is Thursday, yes. Yes, I left that off there. Yes, it will be the
Fourth varsity game.
We talked about 2 ways of doing it, but I think before we talked about, well, when we were gonna do it with the Astronaut game, there was 2 ways of doing it, but doing the rule game. And the reason, obviously, that the Astronaut game, lots of travel issues, lots of concerns. We want everyone here to do it. And so moving it up a week ensures that everyone here will be able to do it and not rushing back. It's like when I talked to Kevin, he said he wants to be held up as long as possible in Austin on the award stand, and we hope that that happens. And so we would hate to have to rush back and or someone just miss it, one flat tire, something happens. And so I know we appreciate your patience with that, but that's best for our kids and best to get it done. I hope people hadn't planned out, but we really hadn't posted it. So, and it's not. So anyways, that's the thought behind that. So yes, we will do it Thursday. Yes, sir. That's all I got.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Humphries.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to the superintendent report.
Thank you all for your service. You don't get enough money for what you do.
Thank you.
I trust that your phone's not ringing too much. And so as the people that are governing a learning organization, it is my opinion that we have to be the lead learners in this organization. So if you will indulge me for just a few minutes, I've been thinking about this stuff way too much.
Is this where our stipend comes
And
in?
this is where your stipend comes in. Yeah. You've seen this before. You've seen it before.
Yes, sir.
You can play if you want to, you don't have to. You can play if you want to, but you don't have to. Dr. Howard Gardner from Harvard, a good long time ago, posited the theory of multiple intelligences. And he's a educational psychologist, that's what he is. But he came to the conclusion that we don't have just one kind of intelligence. And so his original multiple intelligence theory proposed that there were 8 intelligences. And then after a few years of bantering around, he came back and said, I think there's one that I didn't include, and that's the one that says existential up there. Use that if you want to. And so in both my fiction reading and my nonfiction reading lately, and also my work with you all, I've been putting a lot of thought in to, as you've heard me say, what do we need to do for our children to help them be happy, successful, and productive 20 years down the road? And a grandchild. I have grandchildren. He has grandchildren. She's close to having grandchildren. And everybody else in here can have a grandchild within a year. I have 4. You have 4? I didn't know that. Okay, so you have grandchildren. So the landscape is changing, and I know a couple of you, I think, are involved in the book study on the teaching with AI also, which has really caused my thinking. It's gonna turn the world of education. It's already turned the world of education upside down, particularly from an assessment perspective. How are you gonna know what they know? How are we gonna know what they know and can do? Which leads to the question, what should they know? What should they be able to do? And in my mind, even more importantly, how do we want them to think and how do we want them to behave in order to be successful? So here's what I've done. I found a different graphic representation of that, same 9 things. I'll go back to this one here in a minute when I turn you loose to play a little, because it has a little bit of explanation to it. But here's what I I know y'all are gonna think I'm weird, and so I'm really not trying to get you to run me off sooner, but I spend too much time thinking about these things. If Dr. Gardner's right, and each of us are born with some degree of all 9 of those intelligences, when we pop out, we have some level of each of those intelligences. And then as time goes by with our education and our work life, some of those expand outward. And if I work from the premise that if I eventually reach all of my potential and I become the whole person that God intended for me to be, if I could fill that whole thing up, maybe that's when I step into the next life. I don't know. But so here's what I did. And that's why I've given you a marker and a version. With each of those sections, let's just look at the bottom one, which is let's look at the logical mathematical. That's the blue one on the left. I put a straight line there. I thought, okay, when I was born, comparatively speaking, how much logical mathematical intelligence do I think I got here with? And then as I moved out, my work life combined with my education pushed my mathematical, logical intelligence further down the road. And then the wavy, the jagged line, the last one is those things combined with all my other life experiences. For instance, Keith and I were talking about building houses earlier. I built 2 of my own houses. That pushed my mathematical, logical intelligence. I grew from that. So what I'd like for you to do, if you're willing, is take your marker and start in each one. Look at the right one, bodily kinesthetic. And this is just purely self-assessment. I'm not going to look at it. You're not going to share it with anybody. But what were you born with? What did your education and work life push it toward? And then all things considered, where do you think you are today? And all this is just a self-assessment, you thinking about what you know and what you can do. And I'll give you a few minutes to play with it.
We go backwards, like.
Sure you can.
Like me in musical.
Education. Than me now.
So I'm not gonna make any A&M jokes right now.
I wouldn't have worded it that way.
She just had me at my best.
Well, looking at the logical mathematical, I took logic as an undergrad to avoid statistics.
Hmm.
And that was the lowest grade I made in my entire life.
Yeah.
So I don't even know that it.
Yeah.
That was an awful class. My advisor should not have let me do that.
I took a lot of it.
Did you like it?
Oh, it's
So
like, no, it was.
I'll give you about another minute and then, I'm gonna poke at your brain again. So, in psychology terms, I don't know if you took psychology in college or not. In psychology, they tend to have conversations from two different perspectives: the emic and the etic. And the emic is the inward look, and the etic is what you perceive people looking, seeing you. So I ask you to do that in relation to yourself and your own growth, your own knowledge, your own skills, and where you think you are today. We could do the same thing with this team. And we could build a graphic. And I mean, there's not ways to measure some of this stuff, but conceptually. And this is one of the things that I learned back when I was pretending to be an athletic coach. That you hear people talk about diversity and the importance of diversity all the time. It's a thing. It's a real thing. And you don't want a whole team of people that think and act exactly the same way. You need the different perspectives. You need the different levels of the different kinds of intelligence to have a team that's highly functioning. Same thing with our faculty and staff. We could think of it that way. From a school accountability perspective, we hammer away at the logical mathematical. We test them. We judge kids by it. We judge schools by it. We judge teachers by it. We hammer away at the linguistic. We have PE and athletics, but we don't test them much. We used to have testing for PE stuff. We don't. There's a reason that music and band is in the curriculum. Because it enriches us as individuals and as groups. And I got in a conversation with Kelsey and Tanya the other day about how music can pull a group of people together, a very diverse group of people together. Case in point. How many have tapped your toe to Ophelia? Got the name of it? Is that the right name? I mean, it's hard to stay in your chair when that thing's going on, you know? And around the world, you look at those reels and around the world. Mo was showing me a video of Taylor Swift doing an interview and something or another the day after the album dropped. And they started playing one of the songs, and almost everybody in the audience was singing the song from memory, less than 24 hours after it dropped. But the musical intelligence, we don't pay a lot of attention, in my view, we don't pay nearly enough attention from a formal schooling perspective to the intrapersonal, which is exactly what you all engaged in. You look at yourself, try to understand yourself better, so that you can be a better version of yourself. and the interpersonal. There is great power in debate, prose, green-hand chapter conducting. All of these things that can make our students richer, more whole, and in my view, they will be more successful if we can take those kinds of ideas and push the learning in the students across all 9 dimensions. Even the existential, some people, and I'm glad Dr. Gardner came to the conclusion that that spiritual component in our lives is really an important piece, arguably the most important piece. But I invite you to think about that a little bit after you leave here. And full disclosure, I'm trying to get in your brain and rattle around after this meeting's over. I want you to think about this when you go home, and I want you to think about it next week, because it has everything to do with what goes on in this building. It has everything to do with the health and well-being of the individuals in the building and the collective whole, in my view. And the people in this room are the ones that are responsible for that health and well-being. So we'll have these conversations more along these lines, but I do not think it's going to be an option for us to just keep doing what we've always done, business as usual, because the world is shifting faster than it's ever shifted. And let me shut up, and you can comment or question me, or if you want to, it's okay. Push my thinking if you want to. I scared you all. I know that. My wife tells me that's gonna happen. Thanks for playing.
Thank you.
No, it kind of makes you think about your strengths and weaknesses and
Yeah,
in certain areas
Of course.
that you could improve on. I mean, I will never be able to play a musical instrument. That's just not my thing, but
Never say
I
never.
might scare some people at church if I sing or something.
Well,
You know, do a duet at church Sunday. No.
Can play the drums.
thank you for playing. I said in a Zoom session last week with that group of rural schools from all over the state that I've been working with for a few years. It's called Collegiate Education, and occasionally they have a lunch and learn webinar. And the one I sat through last week, they had some rural economic development experts on the panel for a panel discussion. And it was related to the conversation that we just had too. It's about the things that can be done not only from a governmental and social perspective to enrich the rural life, but also the part that schools play in that, in the development of our children. And that also pushes me. I've had some conversation with Steph and Cody, and I've had some conversations too about, and we're doing great on the students taking dual credit classes. I think Darla said we had 56 taking dual credit classes. And that group that I work with at Collegiate Education, it's not just academic degree pursuit. It's degree pursuit and or industry credentials. So what they're pushing their students for is be able to, the minute they step out of here, they slide smoothly in toward a 4-year degree, and they already got 2 years in their pocket, or they can step smoothly not only into a welder's helper's job, they're a certified welder, and they can start making the money that goes with it. So it's that kind of thinking I think we can engage in as time goes by, if you want to, about the development of our children and grandchildren. On that line, I emailed you all about when Cody and I were talking last week about the agenda. I sent you all the email that I chewed on whether or not to let Galaxy, the data center folks, set up a recruiting booth, and I chewed over the weekend, and Jamie and I have talked about this. It's an old habit, principles perseverate on, you know, if I make this decision, what precedent does it set? You know, do I have to live with it forever? And I decided, you know, in the interest of rural development, economic development of the community, why not let someone that's got some good paying jobs set up, and maybe some of our families can benefit from it. And I don't think there'll be any harm from them being there. So that was the basis of that decision. I want to say thank you publicly to Lenora Stanland. Holy cow, she's been making noises about retiring, and I've been going, "Lorna," and run the other way. And she caught me unexpectedly the other day and locked the door where I couldn't get away and handed me that letter. And she, you know, gosh, I love her. I worked with her. I used to help serve roles when I was the principal at lunch, and we're going to miss her, but we still have her prodigy, several generations of it, walking around here in the building. And her genes have blessed this place, and they will continue to bless this place. I've indicated to you all my thinking. I've talked to all three people that work in the cafeteria, and one other internal person that I thought might be interested about what the job entails and what it might look like. If you hemmed me up tonight and said, "What are you going to do?" I would probably say, "I'm probably going to post the position in the next couple of weeks and make the call, so that whoever it is going to be will have a couple of weeks in December to overlap with Lenora and get a good feel for what that work looks like." But I'm thankful for her. I love her to death. Jamie Humphreys, Crystal Clayball's husband, was traveling to work about dawn week before last, and was passing a truck and a cattle trailer and about 80 miles an hour, and didn't see the hog coming out of the bar ditch across in front of that thing. So he never even had a chance to brake. And the driver of the truck told him he was airborne. But Jamie did rescue duty for Dwayne that morning. Thankfully, he was not injured. I still haven't heard if they got a verdict on their vehicle or not, but I'm thankful that he was well. Some of you may have received these, I don't know, but the Lady Jays have embarked on an appreciation journey in which they occasionally sit down with thank you notes and thank someone in the community that's meant something to them. And they deliver those notes around, and that's a powerful lesson and message, and I'm thankful that they're doing that. Jamie mentioned the track team, the cross-country teams, and I want to underscore that because in football and in basketball, those are extravaganzas, and they draw a lot of attention and a lot of hoopla and a lot of glamour, if you will. Cross-country, you get up early, you run when it's hot, you hurt a lot, you go run. Not a lot of people there, except the ones you're running against. It's a special group of people that are willing to put up with that and keep putting up with that. And we see the fruits of it. And as an old coach, I can tell you, I believe we experience the benefits of that across all of our sports as well. We think the dual win at May Simmons week before last, varsity boys and varsity girls, we think that's the first time that Jayden has done that. And that was a huge meet. And that pulls from El Paso to the Metroplex. I mean, people from everywhere.
That's the meet we were at, and Mr. Humphries was talking to Tripp, and he was asking Tripp, "So you miss it?" And he's like, "Man, I would love to come back and play football." He said, "I really love to come back and play basketball." But he said, "I've never said to myself, I would love to come back and run cross country."
It's a lot like work. It's just work.
Do it right, it's still not fun.
No.
It hurts.
There are precious few that just love it. I want to say thank you to Jamie and Keith too for putting together the emergency response drills. And I put the quote in of the Captain Pierre that I work with at LSU as, "Stay ready so you don't have to get ready." I don't know if you all saw the article over the weekend. There are two communities in Mississippi that had tragic events at their homecoming. One looked like a mid-size town, maybe Snyder, Sweetwater size. And after homecoming, a lot of folks in the downtown area, and there was a shooting. They had several people killed and a bunch injured. And then there was another community in Mississippi at their homecoming event, and that community was only 640. So it was very much like Jayden. And there was a shooting there. And so it's a strange world we're in, but even more important than ever is you don't know when catastrophe will strike, but if you've prepared for it a little bit, it's always going to be chaotic. And unfortunately, almost always there's going to be some loss of life. And the question is, how much can you tolerate? And the more prepared you are, the fewer lives you lose. Amy Tuttle has been running point on the Accelerated Reader Program. And I have seen that over the years as a principal used by some to drive children away from an appreciation of reading. That it just became a hammer of oppression. And then I've seen other teachers and folks take Accelerated Reader and use it in a way that just sucks children into a lifetime of enjoyment of reading and appreciation of literature. And I would put Amy in the latter group. I love it when Accelerated Reader is done well, and she is. And I already mentioned to the cross-country teams, so I'm happy about those. I guess we have no public comments. Huh?
Can I add something to that real quick?
Yeah.
They students read 384 books first 6 weeks.
Yeah.
4,764,980 words for 28 minutes a day.
Somebody's keeping the data.
Next, we'll move on to E action item, consider the revised gifted talented plan as presented.
Yeah, Carrie, I dropped that into your board packet, and when talking to Carrie and Mary Kate, brought back some bad memories for me, because when I was the principal here, I had to revise that plan about 25 years ago, and there's a lot of stuff there. But I appreciate Carrie Miller and Mary Kate Chisholm for running point on that. I dropped it into your board packet, and it has it's a kind of a hodgepodge of what the state tells you have to do, and then how you think you want to deal with it at the local level. Yeah, I'll answer questions if you have them, or Jamie can answer questions if you
Reading
have
through
them.
it pretty much sounded like the state sets the bar. But if there's any changes, you could lean on the regional office to kind of, for recommendations or how other schools are doing it, stuff like that.
Yeah, so, and the local discretion, I guess, really falls into your choice of the way you choose to serve those students. Some schools choose to pull them out of the regular day and deal with it, and some choose to just create a gifted class that meets on a daily basis. And then also the way you test to identify. When one of the middle schools in that Round Rock district worked in, it was in the wealthier side of town, and oddly enough, 85% of their students qualified as gifted and talented, according to their standards.
Wow.
So, but as I told Cody the other day when he and I were talking about it, I prefer to think of every one of our kids as gifted somehow, some way, and with some intelligence or another. And we take every child we have, and wherever they are, we push them as hard as we can. See how much we can grow them before we get our paws off of them. Anyway, that's an action item. It requires your action to approve it if you're willing.
Everybody have a chance to look over it and, I mean, of course, I thought I read somewhere that it only said you could have 16% of your student enrollment or something like that, somewhere in there.
So, you did see the 16, here's the deal. The state funding,
Right, that's where it is.
They-
You only get to use it, but the state doesn't want you to use
they
it all.
kick a little extra money in for your gifted population, but there's a hard cap at 16%. So that middle school in Round Rock, it wasn't a cash cow for them by identifying all this.
And then if it's not used, then the state will use the funds for
Correct.
other things. That's what I
Correct.
read.
Yeah. If you don't use it, you lose it. So then there's some incentive in that regard, and you're astute, in picking that up. It's to our benefit to identify at least 16% of the population.
So we will need a motion for that action item.
I move that we accept the revision of the gifted and talented plan.
I'll second it.
Stephanie makes a motion, Andy seconds, all in favor?
Thank you all. Okay, when I visited with Cody last week about this, here, I'm gonna do the superintendent thing. I'm gonna step out there and make a recommendation, and it's perfectly fine with me if you say, no, let's do something different. So from the conversations that we've had, we've looked at a lot of different versions. This is the one that seemed, at least from my perspective, to gain the most positive views. I'm calling it the big black wall version. And the location that seemed to be the most favored was the one at the T of that street as you come up the street at the school. In conversations that I've had with some, there's also been some recommendation that maybe we make that a little plaza with a couple of benches for viewing and sitting. So I'm going to recommend to you that that this is the model that we take another step and let me get a design, a more detailed design. I do think, I went out there this afternoon and stepped that off. I think we have about 30 feet across there that we can use comfortably. We could even make it bigger if we wanted to. It would hide that elementary sign, but that would not be an insurmountable problem. And I think also if we do that, we make a little plaza and cut out either 2 or 3 of those parking spaces so that if you're coming up that street, you're not gonna miss it. You have to be looking at that thing. And put some kind of curbing so that our friends from some neighboring schools that might have some ill will toward us for one reason or another would damage their vehicle immensely before they could get to that thing. And have it lit so that at night you can't miss it. So I'll make that recommendation and ask me questions if you want to.
So each spot is a place to commemorate one.
A state champion
Okay,
team,
so is there a way to add to, so if we have 16 here,
16 there, right?
would we do it on the flip side? How
On
would
the
we?
backside?
Uh-huh, or would we just make it, like you said, make it taller to give more?
In my thinking, and that was, and as we initiated these conversations, and that was, Lacey was on the committee that when we started the conversations, one of the things to me that was important is that whatever we do is something that is amendable.
Mhm.
And so if we filled up all 16, to me, we could come out on the wings
Mhm.
and,
Oh, yeah.
and I don't think we would want to just build one. If we were fortunate enough to get in that spot to have to add more than
Right.
16,
Mhm.
maybe build a couple of shorter wings coming on out
To go.
either side and then add plaques there. Could go higher. I think that would be an option.
So it doesn't contain all the L's on the other one, that's simply that, the other rendering that had the 2 L's coming off of it that was connected to that. Number 1 on there. They just put that out.
Oh, this,
Yeah,
this.
so that's a whole different one.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Gotcha. It's just a single one, okay.
And would y'all like to look through them again? All of them? Okay.
I feel like that educating champions, if you can kind of incorporate that somehow, that'd be great. With your lights. Does anybody else not just love
The
it?
phrase, like,
Yeah.
you're talking about the phrase,
Yes,
I like
yes.
the phrase, yeah.
So, from my recommendation perspective, what I'm recommending is, you give me the green light to have, a more detailed markup. And not, not necessarily that you're making the decision to do this.
Right.
But you're something that much more detailed as it would appear in reality, including the little plaza and including the educating champions across the top. And, cut out the, yeah, what I envision on the parking area is maybe a rounded curve that comes up maybe 2 feet higher, maybe even high enough for, call it a sitting bench or something, but something that a vehicle is not gonna jump and get to that wall. Now, and I know someone that has ill intent can do something to it anyway, but
I like it. I like the location. I think I don't know if it's gonna be granite or what, but I like the contrast of the black there. And I like that it's gonna provide room for several champion teams in the years to come.
I got it covered.
Mhm.
It's good there.
well, we've already got 8 champions that we know of. And the Blue Ribbon School thing, I keep debating back and forth whether or not that is worthy that or not being part of that. But I think I mean, I think we got a decent shot at adding some more this year, I think.
So in your more detailed version, will it have what's on the little explanation marker?
Yes,
Okay,
to my intention.
okay.
And on the pedestal out front, I don't know what you call that. Is that what you're asking about? What's on top of that? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some kind of language there about what you're looking at and when Jayton School was opened and.
Because you could include a Lone Star Cup Blue Ribbon School District in your wording in that
Right.
if you wanted.
Yep.
It wouldn't, I mean, you wouldn't necessarily tag a date to it, but.
Yep.
Everybody like that one?
Are those plaques, are they bronze or what are they to?
So, and that's where I'm gonna have to get a little insight from, an architect or someone that does these. And my thinking is it needs to be something like a bronze cornerstone like you see on buildings a lot of times. I mean, something that's not gonna deteriorate with time and weather. And I'd even toyed with the concept of, seeing, the monument in front of the gym is about 4 feet wide and about 4.5 feet tall, so I don't think we have quite that much room in this thing. But I'd even toyed with the idea of putting the information in the form of a Texas, like a bronze Texas, so that you would have, instead of those 16 rectangles, it would be the shape of the Texas there. To emphasize that we were at the very top of the state pile.
I guess we'll need a motion to start moving forward with that with architects, kind of look at it and give us some idea.
I'll make a motion that we consider this state champion commemoration display as recommended.
Stephanie makes a motion,
I'll second it.
Cody seconds it, all in favor?
Thank you all.
Next, the discussion item, board bond election update, Mr. Coulter's entered informational dates, times, locations are October 16th. At 4 p.m. in JJISD Learning Center, October 24th at 5 in the JJISD Auxiliary Gym, and October 27th at 1 p.m. in Jayton Community Center. Information on both elections are also available at www.jaytonjaybirds.com.
Well, thank you. What I was aiming for on the time and dates of the informational meetings was to try to see if I could schedule time where people might be coming up here anyway. So on the 16th is when we're playing Rule this week. So it's just right before the ball games start. And then the 24th is also stacked up against some home football games. And then on the 27th is the Lions Club has rescheduled their October meeting for noon on the 27th. So I thought I just schedule an information meeting right on the tail end of that for the old folks like me that don't want to get out at night, and maybe and as you all have seen in the newspaper, the information is flowing pretty freely. The bond election lawyers are really, they've given us plenty of homework assignments to try to stay legal on all this. I did pick up in a conversation with Joey Miller the other day, and I was not aware of this, is on the board election. They're having a candidate forum on the 21st in conjunction with the senior citizens luncheon. I think that's when you were part of that. And I don't know, when you were running for the board, I didn't attend because I didn't want to be a distraction, in the room when you all were doing that. And I'm debating on whether or not I should be there or not. But and I don't know if all 6 of them have agreed to speak at that, but anyway, Joy told me they're having that. But the election lawyers don't understand Kent County. We had to put the bond notice at all 6 polling places. And then we had to pick 3 other places that were not public places that were not polling places. And so I was bulldog clipping the bond notice on the door handle at the Claremont Community Center. That gets open, 3 times a year, maybe? Cause it's a polling place. Same thing at Girard. I just don't think they understand. But, okay, we're doing what we're supposed to do. Got questions about that? Our November board meeting is scheduled in that 11-day window within the 11-day window after the election on the 4th. So we won't have to have a special meeting to canvass the election. We can just build it right into our regular schedule. And I guess, while I'm on that topic, I'm sorry, Cody, that'll be November the 10th, I think, is the next board meeting.
Yes.
I think that's right. And so presumably we'll have 2 more board members that night that will be sworn in. You all can talk amongst yourselves, as they say, on Saturday Night Live about whether or not, you want to reorganize after the 2 new board members. I mean, that typically happens in May. If these 2 are filling empty seats, and whoever they are will have to run again in May if they want to. I mean, we got another election coming up in May, one way or the other. So y'all can think about whether or not how you want to handle the reorganization or just keep the same slate officers. It's your call, but something to chew on. I don't know if you thought about it or not. That's all I got on
All
that.
right, Next, we'll move to a 1H discussion item, Senate Bill 12 requirements regarding grievances.
Yeah, one of the things the legislature did this spring, Keith and I have been talking about it, and the leadership team and I have been tossing things around. All in your policy manual, you've had for as far back as I can remember, you have grievance policy. So a parent wants to grieve against the school, or a student wants to grieve against the school, the only grievance I ever dealt with when I was here before was an employee grievance. But the grievance policies have always been there. What the legislature did this spring was said, you can't bury them in the board policy manual. You got to put them on your website. You got to make it easy for people to file the grievance, and they have to be able to do it in a digital way rather than go ask for a piece of paper and fill it out and hand it to you. So we're talking about through the best methodology for us to use to do that, but that's coming. It won't require any action on your part, but I'll notify you when it's done. That's all I got there, Cody.
Next, learning optimization for all, we'll move to 2A. Action item, consider adding, revising, or deleting the following local policies as indicated in the instruction sheet for TASB localized policy manual update 125. BDAA local officers and officials duties and requirements of board officers, BDB local, board internal organization, board committees, BDF local, board and internal organization advisory committees, EI local, academic achievement, FDE local, admission, school safety transfers, FEC local, attendance for credit, FFAC local, wellness and health services, medical treatment. Everybody get all that?
Could you say that again? So, thank you. This is TASB update 125. And so whenever the Texas Association of School Boards, typically there's a flood of this stuff after the legislature meets, but even next year after the legislature's a year in recess, they'll keep cleaning up stuff. And so in fact, update 126 is already in the pipeline. It'll land before too long. The policies that Cody just read to you, the document that I put in your packet that I think was probably the most informative was the one that says update 125 local policy comparison. That's the one I'm showing up on the screen. And what the legal policies are just law. And the changes that they made there are either the result of a change in law or the clarification of language in the law. I'm gonna tell you more than you want to know, but so this is your board policy. The Texas Education Code is just strict law that applies to education. And the Texas Administrative Code is the handbook basically of here's how you get her done. And so that tells you how you're going to take attendance and what time of day you're going to take attendance and how you assign PEMS numbers for payroll and for classifying employees. And so the Texas Administrative Code is sort of the nuts and bolts document that helps us actually do the work. Those are three different huge documents, and they all are supposedly reflecting the same thing. But as you might guess, sometimes the language in this one doesn't quite exactly match the language in that one. So a lot of these things are trying to clean up and collate the discrepancies that are from one and the other. These policies that Cody just read to you, the legal ones don't matter that much. The local ones are the ones that you put a little local flavor to. And so what they've done is said, if it's in red, we're recommending that you strike it out of your policy. If it's in blue, we're recommending that's what you include in there. And then if it's in green, where's some green? Well, there is some. Let me back up. The main things here, I'll talk you quickly this, but I'm not trying to hide anything from you at all. The the policies, some of the policies have to do with the board officers and the way that you all elect your officers. I didn't see anything there that caused me any heartburn, and really there's nothing there that I think will bother you. The other section, the big important section that they addressed was board committees. And there was quite a bit of cleanup language on that, so that it's not really relevant to you all because you don't really form subcommittees much, or you haven't that I know of. And but if you had, and really the kinds I've seen more often than not is when the board is dealing with something tricky like grading methods, you know, that you're trying to put in your policy, whether you're going to go with standard-based grading or percentages or those kinds of things. And so you might have a subcommittee of your board work on that. And so the change in policy basically says the subcommittees don't have the authority to take action unless the whole board gives them that authority. And what those subcommittees do is they go on a fact-finding mission, and they come back and report to the board and make a recommendation, kind of like the superintendent makes recommendations. So, and then the other policy change addresses advisory committees. And that's when you all, and it's kind of interesting because the change in the language here is for those of you that have studied Robert's Rules of Order in Ag or 4-H. It's pretty common practice within Robert's Rules of Orders for the president to just establish committees. But this is saying the board is the one that'll establish these committees if they're established. It's not the president that'll do it. Advisory committees are those that include people external to the board. And so that's when you ask a group of people in the community to embark on something. Most often you see that when school districts are trying to decide if they're going to build a new high school. I mean, they're growing, and they got to split the flagship into two. You see these kind of advisory committees when they start trying to change attendance boundaries, because it's very politically divisive stuff. And so what they try to do is get citizens on this advisory committee. I didn't see anything in the policy changes that would bother you. Another element that they mentioned in those policy changes in the local policies had to do with partial credit. So if you had a student come in here from, let's say, Littlefield, and they had taken a world history in Littlefield and made a 65, and they came here and took the spring version, the spring semester in world history, and made a 71, then their grade would overall, the way the law read was, oops, you average those two together and it's still a failing grade, no credit. What this one says is give them half credit. They got one semester passed, give them half credit. Safety transfers have no meaning at all for us, because in districts that have multiple campuses, if a student is injured or on a campus that is demonstrably unsafe for that child, the district is required by law to move them to another school. So, I mean, in those big districts, you know, you move them from one high school to another, or one middle school to another. Not relevant to us at all. And then finally, the last part of the changes had to do with attendance for credit. And actually, I like the changes that are recommended there, because when a student is supposed to be in class 90% of the time in order to get credit, but sometimes students don't. Sometimes it's just pure truancy, and sometimes it's because they had a baby, and sometimes it's because, I mean, there's all kinds of reasons that it happens. Then what the law says, the principal has the authority to craft a plan to help that student recover. And sometimes, I mean, as a principal, I've crafted extra days in the summer. So I've had them take an exam, comprehensive exam for credit. I mean, there's sometimes all kinds of ways you can do it, but you have an attendance committee also. And so if the student fails to get her done again, that the attendance committee is sort of the appeals group. You know, say, you know, if Mackenzie still can't get credit. And if she can appeal to the attendance committee and say, you know, I'm sorry, my parents were in a car wreck, I had to get a job so I could support my little sisters, and it's just an appellate model. I didn't see anything in those changes that I think would cause heartburn for us in the way we do our business here. It's a lot of jabbering, sorry. But ask me questions if you have them. Or if you want to look at a particular one, I'll be glad to scroll it up there for you. And the 274 page document that I put in your packet. What that did is take all those policies that Cody read and stacked them one on top of the other. So if you want to look at all of them. Oh, wait a minute, I did not put that in your packet. I said I'd send it to you if you wanted it, and not a single one of you asked me for it, but that's all I got on that.
So we'll need a motion to consider adding, revising, or deleting the following local policies indicated in the instruction sheet for TASB localized policy manual update 125.
I'll make a motion to approve adding, revising, or deleting those policies as indicated in the instruction sheet.
Kinsey makes a motion.
I'll second it.
Andy seconds, all in favor?
Thank you very much.
We'll move on to 2B, action item resolve to recognize 4-H as sanctioned extracurricular activity and designate extension agent Brandon Cave as adjunct faculty of JJISD for 2025-26 school year.
I rolled two things into one here. Those are really two different items, but I bundled them together. I assume that those of you who've been on the board have been doing this forever. It's common practice for school districts to say, yes, we want to consider 4-H as one of our stuff and help them where we can. And yes, we want the extension agent to serve as an adjunct teacher, so that when they're hauling some of our kids off to a 4-H contest, they have the authority to tell them, get on the bus, or don't steal candy from the store or whatever. But pretty straightforward, both those things. And on that topic too, Brandon had asked us for assistance. I'm trying to remember the date, November the 10th or 12th, somewhere in that ballpark. They're going to an event and had a bunch of kids, and so the last I saw, Jamie, I think we're gonna help transport them.
Coach Gibson's gonna drop.
Okay,
It's a kid. We have 20 kids. It'll be.
on a bus, right?
And they're going to Wichita Falls, just a cooking competition.
Yeah.
So we'll need a motion.
I'll make a motion to recognize Brandon Cave as adjunct faculty for the 4-H.
Cody makes a motion.
I'll second it.
Stephanie seconds, all in favor?
Okay, Cody. Got, I've got, on that one, I got 2 signatures for you. If you're willing. It's 2 pages there. Sir?
Next, effective and efficient learning operations. We will step to 3A, action item, consent items, minutes of September 22nd, 2025 board meeting, financial reports, request for permanent school funds from Kent County.
Yeah, the only thing, I tell you this to you all the time, if you ever want to pull something apart, if you looked at the financial report, you saw, I put a couple of red font there. When I look through that, when Lacey sends that to me, I read through that thing and ask myself, what might a question come up about it? And so I'll just put a little note there for you. But the big item there this time was the premium, insurance premium.
Insurance and Texas workforce.
Yep. But if you got questions about those things, well, you can ping me anytime. I think you all feel comfortable asking me questions either by text message or email. But
Texas Workman's Comp, that was a big one.
Workman's Comp, yeah. Claims Administrative Service, right?
10,000.
Anybody have any questions or anything wrong? We will need a motion to approve the consent items.
I make the motion to approve the consent items.
A second.
Kenny makes a motion, Kinsey seconds, all in favor?
You'll sign, the minutes from the last meeting as a result of that and hand it across to Kinsey, please.
Next, we'll move to an action item, consider bids for removal of house at 801 Claremont and resolve to select highest qualified bidder.
As I reported to you all, I had inquiries by 3 different people. This is the pool house, the house closest to the pool. I had inquiries from 3 different people and I thought I might get 3, but I really think maybe they might have been talking to each other. And I got a phone call from, the guy that actually has moved in most of your houses that you bought. And he was bringing a young man with him on Friday afternoon about 3 o'clock. And so that was the only bid that came in. And you can look at that, Cody, and read the name if you want to.
Bradley L. Harris. He only wants to give us $500 for it.
The bid, right, yeah, the bid posting required a $500 cashier's check, basically his earnest money. And then we had a minimum bid of $30,000. He and the guy that came with him, Mr. Madewell, walked through the house and on Friday afternoon, and then they just walked over to my office and asked for the bid packet. That's the only one that we got. So the decision of the board will either be to accept that one or not accept it and put the hook back in the wall. You're not required to take it if you don't want to.
30 days, 30 days
Pardon me?
to move it.
What we put on there was December 31.
And then that money goes into the general fund, even though we're using permanent to replace.
Yeah, fundamentally, it's, when you read through that, what the language the lawyer puts in there, it's disposing of surplus property, surplus goods. And then not much difference from selling a bus or selling computers or stuff we're through using.
An assignment.
Yeah, there's, yep, you and Cody,
Y'all good with accepting that?
Mhm.
yeah, after you take action.
I'll make a motion to accept the bid for removal of house 801 Claremont and resolve to select the highest qualified bidder.
I'll second.
Cody makes a motion, Stephanie seconds, all in favor?
How can you do that one-handed?
She's talented.
Next, we will action item 3C, consider the termination agreement with Texas Solar Nova 3 LLC is presented, thereby terminating the agreement for a limitation on appraised value of school district maintenance and operations Texas with Texas Solar Nova 3 LLC, February 2020, comptroller application number 1405, and authorize the board president to execute such termination agreement on the district's behalf and further authorize the superintendent to notify the comptroller that such agreement has been terminated.
I can tell the ones at the lawyer.
Yes.
Told somebody on the phone today, if it can be said in 5 words, I'm gonna try to do it in 3. And if it can be said in 5 words, the lawyers are gonna try to do it in 5 pages. Thank you. So, as I understand it from Fred Stormer, the attorney that works with us, by the way, I learned from my conversation with him last week that, he's a good friend of Zach Freeman. They went to law school together, but according to Fred, Solar Nova 1 and Solar Nova 2, which are already functional in operation, when they built both of those, they cheated and went across the boundaries that were defined for them and slipped over into Solar Nova 3 property zone when they were building. And so the company had already declared to us we're not gonna build solar over 3. We're done. We wanna quit on that one, which we were settled. Not that we could do anything about it. We said, okay. But now, the comptroller's office has their hand in it. And every T has to be crossed and every I dotted. And they said Solar Nova 1 and Solar Nova 2 didn't build within the boundaries that were specified. You have to amend those 2 documents. So that's coming later. Before we can do that, we have to formally say Solar Nova 3 is done. And Lacey and Fred have been chattering back and forth, and they got also assurance from the mothership. Is that a decent description? Okay.
There, right?
That we'll still get the money, that $50,000. I don't know how to describe that money, assurance money or earnest money or.
Well,
Just-
it's just payment for the project until they got it built, and they're not gonna build it, so that'll be our last $50,000 payment
Yeah.
on a solar.
And so, the question that Lacey raised, and I'm glad she did, was if we terminate this agreement, how do we know we're gonna get that money? And, so she and Fred crafted a plan to make sure that the mothership said, oh yeah, we're gonna make sure we're good for the money. So that's what you're acting on, or you're being asked to act on this termination agreement.
So we'll need a motion on that.
I'll make the motion to approve termination agreement with Solar Nova 3 as presented.
Kenzie makes the motion.
I'll second it.
Cody seconds it. All in favor? Next, we'll move on to 3D.
Hang on a second. Sorry. So there's 2 items related to that. Fred told me, one is the formal termination agreement. And then Fred also said, just to be safe, have each of your board members and yourself sign this full disclosure thing that you don't have a conflict of interest in this. So Cody Scott. Yeah, it's a multiple choice test with those 2 boxes there. The top one says, I'm not kin to anybody involved in this, and I don't have any financial interest. And the bottom box says, yeah, I'm kin to somebody involved in all this, and so I'm declaring publicly what that conflict could be. And then sign the bottom, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm. 1013.
Are you kin to anybody?
Not in this county.
Check one of those boxes, the top box, if you're not related to anything, anybody involved in the process. There you go.
Thank you.
You sure you ain't?
You know what? I think everybody made 100. Rainbow stew from a silver spoon underneath the sky of blue.
You ready?
Ready.
Yep. Next, we'll move to 3E, discussion item, softball, baseball complex project progress and next steps.
Yeah, the architect and the civil engineer and the electrical engineer are conspiring right now to build out the design development, the more specific plans in which they're talking about grade and where the power lines would be and all that stuff. And then once that's done, then they'll put that in the hands of the construction manager. He'll look at it, ask them questions. And then that design development, those plans will come here for you to look at. And you'll say, yep, okay, we're good with this, then we'll go. At which point, then they'll go out for bids for subcontractors. And so it's just a painful process. But ask me questions if you have them.
No questions?
Mm-mm.
We'll move to 3E, discussion item, acquisition negotiations regarding properties at 602 Washington Avenue and 771 Jones Street.
You have already acted on 771 Jones Street, and there is the signed contract from the owner. And so once Cody has put his signature on there, then my next step on that is head to the Snyder Title Company and start trying to formalize all the document, get title insurance and formalize the process. So stick a fork in that one. 602 Washington, the owner of that property, which is right across the street from Joe and Connie. We are agreed, except the owner of that had a quit claim deed, and our attorney Backus said, no, that's not gonna work. You need a warranty deed. And so I contacted the owner and he said, yeah, we'll get it done and let you know when he acted like he was fine with it. So we're agreed on all the terms. We're just trying to get pieces of the puzzle put in place.
Next, we'll move to 3F, discussion item, Attorney Coulter property transfer completed and documented.
Yeah, that's been duly documented and etched in granite in the title office in the courthouse. So the square foot for square foot swap right across over here. That's the entryway to the softball baseball field. We're all done.
Next, we'll move to 3G, discussion item, private school partnerships as allowed by law.
Yeah, and my email communications to you, I don't really have much to add to that. I've been playing phone tag with Gary Larimore at Iran Sheffield. But I'm gonna keep digging on that. It sounds like a pretty good deal. Lacey and I have talked about it at some length. It sounds like we could realize money as a result of reduced recapture. But I need to see what the risks are. If we think it's a good enough deal and it's worthy of our action, then we'll present that to you. But I need to learn more about that first.
I think another good contact for that, I don't remember when I sat in that class at board training, it was either Fort Wincock or Big Bend High School, or I think one of those are pretty heavy into it right now.
I know Fort Davis is. Could that
It
be?
might have been Fort Davis.
See, one of
Look at 'em, see their
the
superintendent.
people that Johnny pitched to Lacey, and I talked to Johnny too, was the lady that's the assistant superintendent there. And evidently, Fort Davis is serving as a broker in the whole process as well. So they'll help you find the private partner. And then whatever money you realize, you split with that private partner, and then you pay Fort Davis 3% for, I think of it as a finder's fee. And maybe that's the way my brain works, but.
Next, we'll go to 3H, discussion item, hazard mitigation coordination with governmental and response organizations.
Yeah, for the second time in the last 4 months, I and the Judge Coulter and Sheriff Scoggin and the mayor and fire chief was not there, but the people from the West Central Council of Governments are tasked with going county to county to county and making sure that there's a countywide preparedness for disaster, whether it's tornado, urban fire, plant explosion, which we saw in Tennessee this week. A friend of mine was a superintendent down at
West.
near Waco, West. Yeah, a friend of mine was a superintendent at West when they had that explosion. It just was catastrophic. But the government, the state and federal government is insisting that we engage in a coordinated planning effort, which is, it's good. It's good conversations to have. And so again, I'm not sure they understand our context. But I can't, and I mentioned this to that lady, I cannot imagine someone trying to pull that off in El Paso County or Bexar County, where you have so many organizations that you're trying to coordinate and juggle. But that plan, whenever it comes together, I'll show you a copy of it. But it involves us, and for instance, part of that is, and you all signed an MOU on this several months ago. One piece of that puzzle is if there's some kind of catastrophe and the nursing home has to get their folks out, we'll provide the buses. Yes, we're gonna go do it. And so it's those kinds of coordination and agreements. That's all I got on that.
Next we'll move to 3I, executive session. Anybody have anything you go in for? Everybody's good?
Nothing here.
Okay, I guess that's all. We will need a motion to adjourn.
Make the motion to
Andy
adjourn.
makes a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
Cody seconds it. All in favor?
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Andy, where do your grandkids live?
And love it.
Really?